Hello everyone and welcome to another lesson on inventory. So for today we will learn a few key terms related to the topic of inventory. First, we have to know how to define a trading business. Alright, a trading business is actively involved in the buying and selling of goods. Alright, and the account we use when we have the term goods is inventory. Next, what is inventory? It is simply goods that the business buys for resale purposes. Next, we have to know how to identify the cost of purchases which are eventually shown as a total figure in the inventory account. The first item is the cost price of the goods. Second is any related transportation or freight charges to bring the goods into the business. Third is the import duties or taxes, especially if the goods were bought from beyond the borders of the country. Fourth is insurance that's related to the purchase of the goods. Fifth, any packing materials to repack the goods. And last but not least, the salaries of the workers to process the goods. Take note, this is the salaries of the workers to process the goods and not those who are involved in administrative or selling of the goods purposes. Next, we also need to know how to record the double entries for the purchase of goods. To record the purchase of goods, there will be an increase in the inventory account. Therefore, we will need to debit the inventory account. And this purchase of goods will be made via three modes. Firstly, either by using cash, paid by check, or it can be purchased on credit, which means that we would affect the trade payable accounts. Alright, these accounts would either be credited. Following this, if the goods were returned to the supplier, we would need to reverse the entry. When we return goods to the supplier, or when the business returns goods to the supplier, the goods or the inventory account will decrease, leading to a credit in the inventory account. Consequently, if the business has paid cash or check, they will get a refund, which would increase the cash in hand or the cash at bank account. Similarly, if the goods were purchased on credit previously, there will now be a decrease in the trade payable account, which is also a liability. Therefore, we would debit the trade payable account for return of goods. You would also need to know what are the double entries for the sale of goods and sale returns of goods from the customer. For the sale of goods to the customer, we would need to know separately what are the two amounts related to it, namely, what is the cost price of the goods as well as what is the selling price of the goods. For the cost price of the goods, there are two accounts related to it. The first one we have to debit is the cost of sales accounts. Second, since the goods were sold, the business will have lesser goods and we would need to credit inventory. And when the business sells the goods, they will earn an income. Since income is earned, it will be increased and we would need to credit sales revenue. And the business would either collect cash, which would increase the cash in an account. They would collect check, which would increase their cash at bank account, or there will be an owing from the customer, which would increase the trade receivables account. On the other side of the transaction is when the customer returns the goods to the business. And when this happens, we simply have to just reverse the previous entries being made. So for the cost price pair, we would just need to debit inventory because the business would now have more inventory that was received from the customer. and we would just reverse away the cost of sales account, which is also an expense. For the selling price pair, if the customer returns the goods to the business would need to pay or refund back the cash, check, or there will be a decrease in the customer owing, leading to a credit in these accounts. However, something to take note of is instead of just debiting sales revenue for sales returns, we would change or record in this contra income account called the sales returns account instead. This will enable us or enable the business to track how much goods were returned from the customers separately. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.